So welcome back students in this video of Monster Technology. So in the previous video we have discussed about the conditional statements in JavaScript. In this video we'll discuss about the looping statements in JavaScript. So in JavaScript we have so many kind of loop. Let's discuss. So we have while loop, do while loop, for loop, foreign loop and for of loop. Now first of all let's discuss what is a loop and how to use a loop and when to use a loop. So if you want to perform any kind of statement again and again, so you don't have to manually code that again and again into the JavaScript code. You can use a loop. Let's say for an example, I want to print document dot write hello world on my screen. So I'll write down this simply document dot write hello world and I'll check the output onto my screen, which is hello world. But what if I want to do this task twice? So I want to write down hello world twice on my screen. So just I'll write down another line. I'll copy paste this. I'll copy that and just paste this, and I'll check the output, and it will show me the hello world twice. But what if I want to print this hello world 100 times onto my web page? For that, either you have to code that 100 lines or you can use a loop. So for a repetitive task, you can use a loop. So now we have 3 or 4 kind of loop which can perform that task. But first of all, let's try the while loop. So let's open the VS Code. Let's write down this statement into a while loop. So a while loop will work. For example, let me show you how a while loop will work. So let me put this code inside the first of all the while block, and then I'll show you the process. Now, not only the while loop, any loop will take 3 arguments. First of all, a loop must have a starting point, then it must have an ending point, and then at the last it must have an increment. So for example, if I want to execute this document.write hello world line for 100 times, in this case the starting point I'll start the counting from 0 and end the counting at 100. So I'll write down that where I equals to 0. So this I is my loop variable, and I'll put I is less than equals to 100. So this is the condition of the while loop, and this while loop will execute as far as this condition satisfied. So on every true output of this condition, the statement will execute, the loop will execute. But when the statement when this expression gives you the output false, then this loop will go terminate and the rest code will start to execute. So now let me show you how. So I'll write down document.write.hello. So right now we have the starting point, we have the ending point, but we don't have the increment. Why the increment is important? So let's say if I want to move in any plane from A point to B point. For moving from A point to B point, we must have the speed, because if we don't have the speed or our speed equals to 0, the time will be infinite, because speed and time is inversely proportional, same as in the while loop. So if there is no increment, then this 0 is always less than 100. So it will execute to the infinite time. So we'll write down I plus plus. So this plus plus is basically the increment operator, which is used to increment any number by 1. Also we have the minus minus, which is the decrement operator, which is used to decrement the condition by 1. So for this case we have to move into the positive direction. We are moving from lesser amount to the greater number, so we'll write down I plus plus. So let me explain. Now let's also take this to 10, not make it 100, because it will mess up the code. So this is how you can see there are 10 hello worlds written. Also let me print the number of the output. So we'll write down document dot write the I, and with the I I'll write a br tag. So the next output will come into the next line. So now you can see if there is an error. So now you can see 10 hello worlds over here along with the count 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 up to 10. Now let me show you how it works. So at the first iteration the variable I equals to 0. Condition I is less than 10, which gives me true because 0 is always less than 10, so it will give me output true. And as the output is true, the statement will get executed. So the statement got executed, the screen shows hello world and the number of I. In the next line we have the increment, so it is says I plus plus. So the our I now value of I changed from 0 to 1 because it got incremented after this line number 11. Now a loop will start executing once again. Now the condition is I less than 10, which is 1 less than 10. In the previous iteration it was 0 less than 10. In this iteration it now becomes the 1 less than 10, which is also again it is true. The second iteration is also true. Now again we have the hello world and the 1 on the screen. In the next line we have I plus plus. Now I becomes 2 after another increment. Now I less than 2, which is 2 less than 10, which is also again true. The statement will execute. Next we have the I plus plus. Again it will goes to. So this is how it will goes up to, for the last iteration, 10. For 10 we'll have 10 less than equals to 10. 10 is not less than 10, but 10 is equals to 10. So for the 10 it will execute and shows the hello world and 10. It will also increment it and make it to 11 and just restart the loop over here. So next condition is I less than equal to 10, which is 11 less than equals to 10, which is false because 11 is not less than 10 or not equals to 10. So in this particular case the output we have is false. So in this last iteration output we have the false and the loop will break for the I equals to 11. So this is how we got 10 outputs of that. So this is the mechanism how the loop works on step by step. So we have the starting point, we have the ending point, and also we have the increment. So this is the increment and this is the statements which are going to be execute again and again into the loop. We also have an exit control loop named as a do while loop. So let me discuss the do while loop. So do while loop first of all execute the statement. So there is no condition at the entry time. So it will first of all execute the statement. Let me copy this, and this is basically the starting point of our do while loop. I don't have to just redefine this. I'll just reassign the value of I equals to 0. Then we'll have this. Now we have to write down the statement at the exit level of the program. Now in this while loop we have to mention the condition. So I'll write down the condition will also say we'll write down I less than equals to 20. So this is the output. There is no such big difference between while loop and do while loop. All the questions you have to do with while loop you can perform that with the do while loop. But the only difference is when. So let's say if I have a while loop and by mistake I took the starting point to be, let's say, 45, and because the while loop over here is the entry control loop, so it will check the condition at the entry time and the output it will show is just a blank screen. It will show nothing over here because it will got terminated at the first place at the beginning at the top level. Now if I done the same mistake with the do while loop, now if I done this same mistake, so let me say if I am using this, so output is going very well. Now if I took, let's say, by default 100, so the benefit of using a do while loop over while loop in some cases is that in do while loop you will get at least one output, whether the condition is true or false, whether the statement is initialization is true or false. So it will give at least one output. So you can get an idea that what is the mistake. So it shows me hello world 100 and I can get a just thorough idea that there is some kind of mistake in my 100 because if I want to just print the conditions from 0 to 25, the output cannot be 100. So this is how I can just rectify a mistake, and let's open the code and just make it again 0. So this is how, this is a small difference between using a while loop and whether a do while loop. A while loop is an entry control loop and a do while loop is known as exit control loop. Why? Because in while loop we have condition in the entry point and in do while loop we have the condition at the exit point. Now third kind of loop we have is the for loop. So same task we can do with the for loop. So let me show you. There is a for loop. So now the benefit of using a for loop, that in for loop there is a less chance of mistake, because in the for loop syntax you have to initialize and you have to pass the condition and you have to pass the increment in the same line. So I'll have to write down where I equals to 10, or where I equals to 0, I less than 10, and I plus plus in the same line. So there is a lesser chance that you forgot to initialize the variable, or you want and you forgot to increment the variable, because in while loop and do while loop there is a chance that you forgot to increment the variable. But in for loop, this is into the syntax of the for loop, so you have to pass the three variables over here. This is how it just reduces the chance of, and the output is. Now let's just try a problem using a for loop on any one of loop. So now if I want to take input of a number and want to print the multiplication table of that number, so how can I do that? I'll just write down enter any number. So I'll just doing this program just to demonstrate you how to use and when to use a input id equals to now. Now I'll write down a function. Let's name the function as looping because it's related to the looping part, and also we have to write down a button. So for the event, so I'll write down a button. Let's write down click me. Also I have to pass the on click event, and the on click event means go to the looping. This is the formula. Now we have to take the input of that variable, so I'll write down where num equals to document dot get element by id, and document dot get element by id will connect to the value of input, which id is now. So I'll write down value. Now we have to implement a for loop. So for loop will write down for where I equals to 0, I less than 10, and I plus plus, because we want to print the table of a number up to 10. So we'll write down document dot get element by id, or we'll say document dot write the number multiplied by I. So this will show me the table of any number. So I'll write down, let me check. So if I enter number 5, so output is this. So let me just take it to the next line. So after each iteration, I'll just print a break line over it. Save this, check the output. Let's, if I enter 10 and click me, the output is 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 up to 90. Let's rectify this. So I'll want to start it with 1 and end it up to I is less than equals to 10. So let's save this code and now check the output. So the output is 12 up to 120. So 12 ones are 12 and 12 tens are 120. Also let's format this to make it more. So we'll write down num multiplied by I is equals to, yes. So output will be, for example, let's say first of all I value is 1, so it will say 5 multiplied by 1 is equals to this. So let's check the output. If I enter 5, the output is this. Let's check another output. Let's say if I enter 15, the output is. So this is how you can use a for loop or any kind of loop, a while loop or do while loop, to implement some kind of repetitive statement. So over here I just write down a single line, but this single line executes 10 times by the help of a for loop. So this is how you can just minimalize your code using loops inside your coding program. So in this video we have discussed about while loop, do while loop and for loop. In the next video of our series we will discuss about the arrays, and for using with arrays we have two special loops, which is for in loop and for off loop. Thank you for watching this video.